So our agenda today, it's this one. As usual, it's the morning more about principles and examples, cases. In the afternoon, you have the workshop session with your coaches, and we also propose to mix the coaches. So any coaches from any organization can support you, included the Russian coaches. So George, Jason, and me here today. What we propose is to start at with some reminders and sharing some topics from the cities, and also having your finalized or your as-is strategy canvas. If you have a new version, you can show us and present. So it's good training to pitch and to train and to have the feedback from the other participants. And then we have an introduction to the non-customers and six-pass pose, and some example from successful strategies from the Russian Awards, and then the workshop. Okay. Before we start, do we have some question here regarding the last main session we had 2 days ago on some technical points? I don't know. Is everybody, has everybody all the session in his agenda? Can you connect the platform? No issues on this here? Okay, no issues from into my line. Okay, all good. So some reminders regarding what we have shared last time and what we have done last time in the last session. You have some quick comparison between what is a red ocean strategy, what is a blue ocean strategy. So as we shared last time, it's blue ocean strategy. It's more to, the objective is to find an uncontested market space, new one, to create your one space, your one market, and going out of the existing space. So it's not about beating or following strategies from the competition. It just makes all these strategies irrelevant. So the point, it's not about proposing the same offerings than the competitors, so exploiting the existing demands or focusing on the customers, but it's create and address new demand. So that's why, and it will be today one of the key principles we share with you, and will be a big part of the workshop. It's about non-customers, non-users. You have to understand them, understand their experience, to be inspired by this, and to find this new hidden demand, new hidden values you can bring to create this new space. In terms of resources, most of those business strategies are about value cost trade-off. So, or you have, or you bring value, or you bring volumes, or you have a low price, or you have a high price with a high value and low price with a low value. Here, it's totally different. You break this logic of value cost trade-off. You bring the high value at a lower cost. It's all about that. That's why you eliminate to have a low price, to keep the price, I would say, normal or low, and you create to bring a new value. Offering at the result at the end of the journey is not to have an offering based on a choice of or you propose differentiation or you propose low cost. It's the same. It's both differentiation and low cost in the same time. You are able to have in the same time, differentiation with your offering and a low-cost approach. Okay. Do you have question on this here? And maybe George, you can complete, of course, anytime. Feel free to interact. Yeah. You are muted, George. You're muted.
No, it's fairly clear. It's just that you don't go the route of the established leaders. You try and make a new path using the Blue Ocean tools.
So if you have all participants some question, feel free to interrupt, of course. So what we saw last time, it's all about these non-customers of your industry. And as you understand, it's a macroeconomic approach. It's not about starting with one offering and trying to make it evolving. And it's just having an overview, bringing a full overview of the industry and understanding where you can bring something new. And the first insight you can get to follow this way, it's the non-customers. So we saw last time to be anti-EXCLUDED. We'll go deeply in details about them. To be they are leaving the market, they're leaving the industry. They are less and less often customers. Anti, they are against the standard offering. And in EXCLUDED, they are lost for the industry. They have never been considered as potential customers by the industry. It will be the biggest part of your workshop today in the afternoon. Second principle, you remember we said you need to simplify and diverge. It's all about that. So here you have the 4 actions. These 4 actions is these actions you have to apply on the standard offering. You remember last time you were drawing value curves, the strategy Canva as is. It show you what are these standard offerings in your industry. So you will have to eliminate several elements in these standard offerings, reduce, raise, to have differentiation, and create. To have these unique elements, you are the only actor to propose, creating really something new. So that's why it's a new market space. So as a result, yeah, it's a key deliverable of this innovation process. It's what we call the Blue Ocean matrix. And it's this process here. So remember, visual awakening, inspiration, ideation, new offering. Here we are finalizing this first step, visual awakening, normally today. And then we'll enter the exploration at the next station. We'll have these interviews, interview guides you will prepare to be ready to explore, to conduct these interviews with your non-customers. Okay. And George, some reactions? Okay. So feel free to ask any question. So where we are here. So visual awakening, finalization. Today you will finalize your strategic Canva and identify your non-users and excluded people or non-customers. And next time, as you can see here, you will be describing your 6 paths. If you have time today, you can start. We'll introduce these 6 paths today to you, or some of them. So we are here today. This session here, visual awakening. So what we have done, you have all the entrepreneurs, you have selected your perimeter, which industry perimeter you want to address, where you want to create something new innovation, and new market. So yeah, be sure that you are comfortable with this industry perimeter, and you can of course change it and make it evolve, but soon you need to be sure of this to go further. Second step, you have all this session, the 11 agenda session, main session in your agenda. So as we said, you can refer to the page. I've sent the link on the chat. It's on this page. You have all the session. You see this page here. It's up to date. And if you need to add some, so you can check that you have all this session in your agenda. If not, you can add from here. Okay. You have normally all access to the working space platform we are using here, this platform, you see. So if not, please let us know and we'll fix that. And you have all created your first project in the BBOR here, BBOR part. So we see here several projects. So you can add any other project if you want to start again. You can click on add and you can add any project. Feel free to be sure of the industry perimeter and here to share with your organization. So your coaches can access your project. Okay, and fifth step, normally you have your ASI strategy in Canva, mostly finalized and commented. Here, it's an example. So you remember, if we go in, for instance, EcoBicycle, you have here the strategy. I see EcoBicycle made a big work. It's nice. You will present, and you have a lot of conclusion. It's nice. So you will present this to us today. The sixth step, it's what we will do today. We'll have to list your non-customers. Okay, you list your non-customer and you profile them. It will be on the platform also. Here you can see on this example, you have this example, Sun Mobility. It's always accessible for everyone. Here you see it's this part, the third part, identification of the non-customers. We'll show you how to use this part of the tool. And the seventh step, we will start today. It's the 6-pass description. Okay, we'll introduce to you this concept. Okay, so don't know if we have someone. Maybe she will join later. Do we have Monique from Johannesburg here or no? Let me check. I see Jason is here. Hi, Jason. Okay, maybe she will connect later. We'll tell you. No, we propose to have a presentation of your strategic canvas. Maybe you have some new version. If you have new version you want to present to us now, please. You can. I saw EcoBicycle has a new version, and yeah. So we want to start to present the last version of your strategy Canva, if you have a new one. So EcoBicycle, maybe I saw as well. New version I saw here. EcoBicycle, are you here? Oh, another group.
I don't mind sharing it again. I just changed a few things from the ones that I presented the previous time.
Yes.
It was.
You can share your screen if you want to show.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So last time I presented idea on agricultural service, that's the name of the group, but the industry parameter, I changed it to be more specific to
Good.
what the offering is exactly. So it's biopesticides and biofertilizer. Not much has changed in terms of our current customer. So it's still farmers, farming communities, and agricultural research councils and government departments that are involved in agriculture. Not only, but the only thing that I added here was that we also wanted to include urban agriculture. So people that are local farmers in the cities, even nurseries as well. In terms of our key elements, not much has changed. So the only thing that I was able to change here was the product and services from the comments that I received previously. So one of them was, what if the farmers decide to create their own solution instead of buying into our solution, which are these biopesticide and biofertilizers. So when I plotted it, we see that actually one was quite right. It does create a new dynamic where if I plot the farmer solution here in pink, if I compare it to our solution, which is the blue, we see that if, for instance, farmers use manure that is already in their farm, or they use other farming practices, we see that it is relatively cheaper to what we are offering. It is the expertise and credibility is already there because the farmers themselves are creating the product and it's already in stock on their farm. The quality of service, I said here, it would be a bit lower because here we find that although the farmer may have the manure on site, the differentiating factor between us and what the farmer is offering is that we already know what we're introducing into the plant because we have manufactured these pesticide and biofertilizers. So we know exactly what is needed by the plants, by the soil. So we're able to offer a very specific and tailored solution compared to just adding extra manure to the soil in hoping that it might work. The other three parameters in terms of autonomy of production, the farmer in this instance has 100% autonomy of production because they're able to source the material on their farm and they're able to implement it directly. And they can integrate it easily into their farming practices, either when they're sowing or they're irrigating. So it's a much easier solution for the farmer to implement. The main differentiating factor was we found when I was thinking about it, was the turnaround.
Tumeleng, we have lost you. Your connection seems low now.
So although
we have lost you for
sorry,
20 seconds. Yeah.
For 10 seconds. Sorry, hi. So I said in autonomy of production, the farmer has complete autonomy of production in the production of the manure and the fertilizer. However, the differentiating factor is when we think about the turnaround time, and the turnaround time, we said that we would have a much higher expertise and higher offering because we are creating a tailored product that is needed by either the plant at the time or the soil at the time. So we're able to give a much better solution compared to the farmer that just adds a very generic product to the soil, which might help and which may not help as well. So we found that if we compare our solution to what the farmer may offer, this becomes the biggest differentiator because our solution would act right away instead of the farmer, which might take some time and weeks to sort of work in. And the last main factor was just sustainability. We found that it is in the light of sustainable agriculture, it does work in favor for the farmer as well, because these practices are helping the farmer move away from the use of harmful pesticides and harmful inorganic fertilizers because they already have the material on the farm themselves. So that makes it much more sustainable. However, I wasn't quite sure if I should put that as high because one of the limitations with the farmer using their own solutions over time, it might be the source of the material might be low, they might not have enough of the material to create the product. Whereas in our case, we will be manufacturing the product. So we would have, with economies of scale, we'd have a much more higher product in volume to move, whereas that might be an issue with the farmer. So I don't know I think maybe they should be a bit lower, not as high, because it might not be a sustainable solution overall. In terms of our conclusions, I changed them. I think I had quite a lot, and then I just sort of broke them up into three main offerings, conclusions. The one is we offer sustainable agricultural practice and solutions, and we offer sustainable services. And our instance is that we help the farmer, those that are not currently using our solution, that are still using traditional agricultural practices. We offer sustainable service where we transition them away from the use and reliance on harmful chemicals and harmful pesticide to a more organic solution. And we are able to offer the solution from when the farmer makes a decision to transition all the way to full transition. So we're not just offering a one-time consultation or a one-time service. It is an ongoing service with the customer until they make the transition completely. And then we said we're offering alternative to the current offerings. So in this instance, but we promote farmers to use our pesticides, our biopesticide and our biofertilizers instead of relying on GMO seeds and artificial fertilizer. And then the last one was we offer all-inclusive services where we assist the farmers who have already transitioned to using biofertilizers by incorporating into the service biomonitoring, where we're able to monitor what's happening on their land every week, every month, and we're able to offer much more tailored service and product as and when the farmer's needs grow. And that's it. That's all we had to change in my presentation.
Okay. Some reactions, some questions for Itumeleng and the group from George, Jason, other participants.
Hi. I did something very similar with the company in India, and they have the same problem. But don't be too worried at the moment of the height or of your curve. You will now have to go into the field and validate. This is your best estimate of what it is. So the case was a fertilizer company, and in India, fertilizer is subsidized. So they had never been to a farm. And the CEO read the Blue Ocean book and said, let's do Blue Ocean. And as part of Blue Ocean, you have to explore. And when they went to the farmer, they found the farmer wasn't getting the right inputs. The subsidized fertilizer was being exported in the gray market. So eventually they created little shops almost at the village level, where they gave extension services. They produced all the inputs at the same time, because if you're a small farmer in India, the distributor is not very interested in you. So yes, they were using conventional fertilizer, but they were dosing it. They also realized the land was completely destroyed because of urea.
Yeah.
So they started converting wet waste from the cities to a compost, which they branded, and explained to the farmer how the compost, and they had a very simple solution. They put some of the soil from the farmer's field on a piece of blotting paper, poured a glass of water in it, and the water just went through. Then they mixed it with the compost, and the water didn't flow through. So the farmer realized. So doing demonstrations to farmers, especially if you're coming with non-traditional things and they've been in GMO and stuff, have kind of informal workshops. It really helps the farmer understand. And then, some of those farmers are non-customers, so you'll have to interact with them to explain. So the big part of this is explaining to people what is the value you bring to the client or the user, forget client.
Yeah.
And demonstrations are sometimes the easiest way. You can have a pop-up shop where you have demonstrations, videos, various things. Yeah. So
Thank you.
And it's very interesting what George shared with you. Remember this example we shared at the last session, Pandobac.
Yes.
They were facing quite the same. It's more about consulting. You have to support these farmers in their transformation to go to this solution. And so you have to think about that. And certainly it's a part of created elements you maybe have not yet integrated in your offering. It's this transformation support and all this very accessible, easy content to understand. And so, of course, and we can see here, I shared your strategy canvas. Quality of service, maybe you should detail it, because quality of service, each customer will maybe have something different in mind about that. So you should maybe give more details. You will see there are maybe several things. And in this quality of service split in several elements, you will maybe be able to see, and the exploration will support you in that. So the next step, when you will be facing non-customers, all these farmers with we don't use fertilizer. They will tell you why they don't use them. And maybe there are a lot of things in this quality of service big box they don't need, and you could eliminate, because here for now you're offering, there are some elements, one element is maybe created here with the turnaround time, but you need to be more differentiate and radical compared to the standard offering. And certainly it's some elements you could eliminate in this quality of service when you split it. Just a feeling. Okay. Do you have some other reaction? Yeah. Welcome. Do you have some other reactions? Questions? No? Okay, so let's continue with, thanks a lot to Meleng. Let's continue with the group Eco Bicycle. I see you are ready. You can share your screen. Eco Bicycles, Nako Geleng, are you here? Mo Geleng?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
It took a while to unmute.
You can share your screen if you want to.
Yes. My screen is a bit slow, but it's coming.
If you want, I can share mine if you have a slow internet.
Okay. Can you see it? If you can't
see. We see. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we changed our customers to be more specific, because we'll be a bicycle manufacturer. Then, no, it didn't change. Let me see. Okay, updated. Okay, we changed our customers, but it didn't update. Sorry. So we looked at the customers and we thought, because we're bicycle manufacturers, then our customers would be bicycle retailers. So the people who sell bicycles, and then companies that rent out bicycles, and companies that use bicycles as their base for whatever service. For example, if they are delivering using bicycles. So our customers would be other businesses instead of individuals. And then, so the key elements that we added was the strength of the material. I don't know if we had it last time. And then durability in terms of how long the material lasts. And if the bicycles are being produced in the country. And we added greater purpose, meaning that there's more reason than just for bicycle riders. And then the cost of material to make the bicycles, and if it reduces waste. We also added more competitors, Giant and Fuji, which is one of the two big bicycle producers globally. The other ones were mainly suppliers in South Africa. So yeah, when we looked at the price, because of the cost of our raw materials, which is waste plastic, it will be way less than carbon fiber and steel. So our price would be lower. And I think Cycle House has the highest price with an average of 40,000 per bicycle that they sell. And then Fuji has one of the lowest prices that with an average of 2,000, I think. And so the cost of material, okay, this should be here. So, a little bit lower. So the cost of waste plastic is way less than steel and carbon fiber. Durability, we put ourselves there is high because plastic lasts longer than steel, and the rest of the bicycle companies use mainly steel for the bicycles because it doesn't rust, and it's not prone to chemical reactions compared to steel. And then the bicycle specs, we obviously not going to have as many specs on the bicycles than the others. And the most expensive bicycle company is the one with the most specs. They have like tweaks on everything on the bicycle. And then how strong the material is. So we looked at how steel can bend, and if you crash into a plastic made something, you're more prone to bounce back. When it's still would just crash and bend. So plastic would be stronger, and carbon fiber breaks easily. Most bicycle companies in South Africa are actually importing their main bicycles, even when they are tweaking them in South Africa. They mainly import their bicycles. So this would be locally made. And with the greater purpose, the eco bicycles will be reducing a lot of waste in the country, which is a need right now. I've put this as low because it's mainly, maybe I should put them a little bit not at the bottom, but it's mainly just if you just need a bicycle to ride There is no other papers. And then environmental effect. Okay, so bicycles, when you use bicycles, you don't emit any harmful stuff, but the creation of the bicycles would be, you would be emitting some things. And with the creation of the eco bicycles, because we're melting, we'll be emitting a little bit of carbon dioxide, but we'll be reducing waste plastic from the environment, which there is a great need for that. And for same reason for waste reduction, it does reduce a lot and reduces the amount of landfills that we have in the city. So we updated the conclusion as well. In terms of the strength of the material, the lifespan of plastic is longer because it's resistant to chemical reactions. It doesn't oxidize easily. When metal does, and it rusts after a while, and you need stuff to protect the metal, which will increase the cost of production. Also, in general, bicycles that are supplied in South Africa, except for online and imports directly, they're very expensive. So this would be a bicycle that is produced in South Africa and it's cheaper. The material is cheaper because the cost would just be the cost related to collection of that plastic, and also machinery, but it will be a once-off cost. And then, already touched on that most bicycles are imported and not locally manufactured. And also, in terms of durability, I did mention that the plastic reduces inertia, meaning that if you crash into something, the damage is not as big as if you crash into something with a steel. And generally, these bicycles would encourage environmental awareness, and also maybe encourage customers to start thinking about the plastic in the environment. Okay, thanks. I don't know if there's questions.
Yes, I see Tumeleng has a question for you on the chat.
Yeah, I'll just ask. I had a question regarding, I'm sorry, excuse my ignorance, I don't know much about bicycles, but is it possible that if you had a company that repurposed or refurbished old bicycles and sort of sold them, wouldn't that achieve the same sort of goal in terms of environmental effects? How would that compete with what you're offering?
So our main goal is to reuse plastic and reduce plastic in the landfills, therefore reduce the landfills that are already full, helping with waste management. But there are companies that reuse bicycles. Like I think Olympic Cycles have a site where you can buy a second-hand bicycle. So they do. There is that. We also have to look at the number of bicycles that you're going to get to refurbish, and so that should be. You have to have a lot. You have to have a supplier that you're looking at, saying that these are the bicycles that are thrown out because they're not being used, and we haven't explored that. But our main purpose is to focus on reducing plastic in the environment. So if we reuse bicycles, then we won't be focusing on that purpose.
Maybe I will share my screen if you're okay, because I would like to show you here what we can improve. You see, I've reordered the elements just to have your blue curve growing, and it makes, when you do that, it makes, you know, the Canva more readable. We see more the differences. Yeah, I think maybe I think most of the elements are relevant here. Maybe strong material. The question I could have, are all these elements from the perspective of the customers? So for instance, cost of material. I'm not sure it concerns the customer. It's more maybe you, the producer, the manufacturer, but not the customer. So yeah, I'm not sure about this one. It's not it's not an element for the key element for the customer, I think. And maybe some other of them can be questioned, I don't know. The same as for Itumelang, bicycle specs. Maybe there are some specs you could split. Some of them could be more in details, I don't know. It's a little generic. Okay, that's feedback, but the way it's very clear. And you got, we see that you got a lot of information from this work of this Canva. I don't know what is your opinion, but that I feel you have understood maybe the big picture very easily. You didn't get before, maybe. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, thanks. So the cost of material, that isn't it related to the price, which does or maybe because I do have price there. So okay, yeah.
I think you can delete this cost of material. It does not concern the customer. It's more for you. It's more your feasibility, profitability. Other reactions, questions for this group? Bicycle. Jason, you want to react? No? Okay.
No reaction.
Okay. Another group, we have time for another group. Want to share? If you very short time. We have another group. I see from, I don't know, Opla Smart City, maybe, I don't know. Which group? WIBC? Which group?
I can go, Alban.
Okay.
Maybe I can get some assistance from the group. All right. So, the name of the group, I didn't really worry about it too much. But the industry parameter we have chosen, housing, home ownership in particular. The reason why we looked at this industry parameter is because we feel like the current market is already being exploited by the current players that are offering services in the market. It already has an existing demand. And there's a lot of competitors in the same space. So that is the reason why we actually went for the home ownership industry. But then it's a bit tricky with this one because we have found that there is two elements that are very important that are at play. One would be the cost of owning a home. And also, there's also a part where there is the financing models that currently exist. We feel that both of those factors haven't been changed in such a long time that it actually gives room for innovation. So the key elements that we were looking at in this case is we were looking at the price, we were looking at the size of the housing, location, quality of the house, accessibility, also the cost of production. Now that the last speaker just spoke, I'm not so sure about the cost of production, but I'm open to correction. So you're welcome to jump in. Cost of production, because I think similarly to the last speaker, we actually thought that the cost of production does actually affect the end product that is going to be accessed by the customer. So currently in the home ownership space in South Africa, we have the private sector, which is the private model, which is serviced by private developers and financed by banks. And there's the other housing sector that is then serviced by the government, which is the RDP housing and so forth. And then you have a very large gray area in that, because this one it's also affected by the income, the income of these two groups, right? These two groups are directly proportional to the income that they get per capita. So what we were looking at, we were actually looking at this. So this is where I would appreciate some assistance. We only have these two players on our canvas, but when you look at the actual industry, you find that there's other factors as well, like in betweeners, where you find the market is serviced by both the government and the private sector, where the houses are subsidized. And also you find that you get the rental space as well. So in this case, I wasn't sure exactly whether to add those two players as well, but I feel like how I have presented it, it actually simplifies it and gives a much clearer perspective in a nutshell, I believe. So when we're looking at it, we look at that obviously with the lower LSM, which is the recipient of a government house, for instance, the price would be very low. The sizes of the houses is a very small house, so that's the quality also is on the low side. The accessibility, there is a huge waiting list, so not everyone can access those, more especially the people that we are actually identified as non-customers, people who do not participate in this space, which is people who are in between, because for just to give a bit of perspective, for a person to qualify for a government house, for instance, they have to be earning less than 3,500. And for a person to qualify for a private home financed by the bank would have to, I saw an article on Business Insider just yesterday where it says it's going to be dropped at a certain bank to 12,000. So meaning a joint income in the family has to be 12,500. So in between those, there is a very huge gray area. People who are not currently participating in home ownership, if I can put it that way. Okay, my thing is a bit frozen. Okay, so oh, you are actually, can you please scroll down for me? Scroll down. So to the non-customer. All right. So basically, this is also us identifying who the non-customer is. So how we understood it and how we have actually stated it here, we have identified the people who are non-customers as people who are currently not participating in the market. So those people are neither qualifying for an RDP house and qualifying for private ownership through bank finance. So that would be the market that we will be focusing on. How we are going to, or the solution that we are going to offer to this group, we are not sure yet, because like I said, there's two factors at play. The cost of building, also the financing model, which makes it much harder, right? Because the houses themselves are a bit high in terms of price. And then in terms of the financing model, when you get it from the bank, it's a financing model that has very high requirements. The interest rate sometimes, you know, it varies from one person to one person. So I think there's more at play here, and it gives us a bit of room in terms of the innovation that we will bring into the space. But yes, we are still in communication with Matoke, who unfortunately is not here, but we are still communicating. We are actually starting to look at talking to the actual players and seeing what their pain points are, and see exactly what their struggles are. Because if you say you are going to fix the house or make a low-cost house for these people, maybe that's not what they want. Maybe what they want is just easy access to the financing. Or you can say maybe you fix the financing part of it, and you find that these people actually just want a place to dwell, a place to sleep. It doesn't have to be the current traditional house that we have. So we are actually looking at our project with that approach. We want to identify the pain points of these players, or of these non-customers, and then from there we will then formulate a solution for them, you know, regardless of where it be.
Maybe before we go further in the non-customers, because it will be part of the workshop today, and it's good that you already started on that. You're a little in advance, so it's great. And maybe the coaches will be able to visit you during the workshop, to challenge, to bring you a little of challenge, and maybe helping in completing this list.
Yes.
And just before we go further into the non-customer, about the strategy Canva, I saw some reactions. So yeah, Itubelang was asking several questions about self-build and about the company's offering. So yeah, the industry is housing, and it's construction of houses, if I understand, right? Maybe Itubelang, you can ask your question.
Yeah, I had two questions. One was, what about people that build their own houses? And also, I think I was a bit confused as to what is the offering that you're providing? Are you offering to build the houses? I'm a bit lost as to what is the company offering, because I understand that you're saying that there's two ways people can build houses, is RDP and the bank loan. But I was saying, what about people that build their own houses?
At this step, Itubelang, at this step, each group does not need to have already an offering in ready. Okay, it's just industry analysis. So Visual Awakening, it's analysis of the industry. What are the current offerings, and then with this non-customers exploration and ideation, each group will be able to find its new offering. You see, so you don't need to have an offering at the beginning.
Yeah, just to add on that one, Itumeleng, we do not have an offering yet because we haven't gotten the time to talk to the non-customer themselves, understand their pain points, because I feel like there is a big injustice when you start offering something without understanding exactly what the customer's problem is, right? Because, like, for instance, we are looking at housing, but like I said prior, you might fix the cost of the house, which eventually reduces the cost of the house. But maybe that's not what the customer wants. Maybe the customer wants to access the already existing market, the already existing house designs, but they just want to be able to get into the credit, to the financing part of it much easier, you know, and not pay an exorbitant interest rate. So that's currently where we are. We are looking at understanding the customer, or the non-customer in this case, and then from there, only then we will start formulating the solution.
Yeah, it's good. It's exactly where we should be. But that's, as you can see here, some groups are already an offering ready, or already started something. So you can draw this blue curve and compare it to the competition. But some other groups are just looking for the ID, and exactly like your group. And of course, the next step would be this exploration, like you described, having this non-customers understanding their experience and finding these hidden values you can bring with the right value, with the right offering. Maybe some reaction on your strategy Canva.
I just have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Just before you continue, just considering at what Itumeleng just brought up now, right? Like I was saying, on the side of the people who are already offering a service or servicing this market, also there is those areas like the one Itumeleng just brought up, like people who are building their own houses, for instance. One would consider that a private ownership or a private development, depending on what the house is for. So it also brings that to me, whether I should add those people, including the rental space, for instance, on my canvas, so that it gives us a bit of a more in-depth, because maybe the rental market doesn't really need ownership. They just want a place to sleep and pay a certain amount per month. So should I add those ones on my
It's up to you. It's up to you. I think, in my opinion, I think it would be interesting to have this curve with the self buildings and also rental. So you will have the big picture. But of course, as you understand, there are not really competition, not really competitors. There are more alternatives. And this is what we will introduce today. There are alternatives. And this is in this alternative where you can find ideas to bring back to your industry. It's six paths we will introduce today. But yeah, I think it can be interesting, bring some knowledge, some understanding, having these curves. Don't know, Jason, your opinion about that? Jason, yeah, sure. You have some. What do you think on that? Yeah, maybe Jason is not available.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just a last one from myself. Just I think this parameter for us is gonna be very interesting, because I think if in terms of disruption, it is going to introduce that in an industry that has been untransformed for so long, you know. So yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to explore this one further.
And one last comment. You can see here it's clearly you have here the two main offerings, standard offerings of this industry, and it's very clear. It's very a model of what we call segmentation. It's typically a segmented industry. You have the very low cost. You pay. maybe the price, maybe it's not zero. I think it's maybe, yeah, no?
It is zero.
It is zero. Really
yeah,
zero. Okay.
You're up
So you,
there.
you pay zero, you have almost a very low value on each element, and you pay more, and you have the same curves, but translated. The same offering, but all proportionally to the price. And but they are always the same elements proposed. Yeah, that's so it's typically segmentation, low cost, medium, premium. So we have someone saying Kemogeleng RDP size is 0. She asked.
Yeah, I don't know if you know anyone who pays for an RDP. Those are not paid for unless it's a subsidized house. It's still the private developer, but subsidized by the government. That's when you would have a price to it. But the current market, the current RDP market is actually price zero. It's all about qualifying for the service, basically.
I think you didn't hear him correctly. It's size. I was wondering why is size 0?
Oh no, the size, yeah, it's adjustable, but it's pretty small houses as
maybe not 0.
Yeah, maybe not 0. Yeah, that is
and
a
location
bit of
also is not 0.
Location as well, yeah. But it's still
but price is not 0 totally, no? It's a little.
It's definitely 0 as far as my knowledge serves me.
Okay. Judith, you raise your hand.
Yes, I just wanted to ask, Paul, in terms of cost of production, are you looking at the different type of building materials, maybe different technology? How are you going to have the cost of production so much lower?
Well, this is what we estimated to be currently, right? Because if you look at the lower side is the current
estimated in terms of you.
In terms of what we would offer.
Okay, I understand, but how are you going to get the cost of production so low? Are you going to use alternative materials, or is it just like your standard materials that you're going to use?
I think that's actually where the interesting part is, because if you look, when you're looking at that canvas, our solution is nowhere to be seen on that canvas. What is on the canvas is what we currently feel is existing. Obviously, the cost of production can be adjusted when we find the real numbers of it. But when you look at the actual house, the materials that are used in the the type of design, and just also considering the scale of which these houses are built, then it would make the RDP house on the lower side of production costs, if I can put it that way. So I think for us, the interesting part would come with how do we solve the price or the cost of production side of it, should the customer or the non-customer be having a pain or having that as a pain. If the customer if the non-customer's problem and the reason why they do not participate in this market, if that is influenced by the cost of production, then it's going to be a very interesting one, tackling that problem. But tackling that problem would eventually fix or tackle these other problems that are directly linked. The cost of production will affect the price of it. The price of it will then affect the financing model, the interest rates, and all of the related costs. So I think for now, just to answer, we do not have our solution there. What we have on the canvas is what we feel is currently there. Yeah, it gives us a picture of how we can actually come in and give a value proposition in this case.
Okay, Great stuff. But I just think it would be great if you can do some research in terms of some of the developments that companies already have that can actually reduce the cost
Yes,
of production significantly, because you don't use your normal brick and mortar. But yeah, we can have a chat offline.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I would love to have all of those options available should the customer have a problem with that. But because we don't know what the non-customer's problem is exactly, that might not fix it for them per se.
No, I understand. No
So
problem.
100%, I appreciate it.
And last question from Nako Mogeleng.
I'm just wondering that you're comparing bank bond and RDP, when I'm thinking that the bank bond has more diversity inside it, that because even you can get a bond for the subsidized house. So I'm just thinking that in terms of location and size and quality, you can't compare bank bond with RDP, because you can get a bond for a house that is really, really small, even smaller than an RDP, or get a bond for a house that is really big. So I think the comparison, maybe you can look at the types of dwelling instead of bank bond, because I think bank bond, if you're talking about accessibility, then you can compare, but in terms of cost of production, quality, location, and size, they can vary depending on what kind of dwelling you're choosing.
No, I understand that, and it's a very interesting one. But when you look at it, I think it was more, for lack of a better word, but I'm actually looking at private ownership versus government supplied housing. The private ownership is mostly serviced by the bank bonds, right? If you look at the space that you just spoke about now, the subsidized houses, that's the one where I was asking for assistance, whether I should add it as an option or as another player that is already playing in the game, including rental, for instance. But in terms of location, I mean, there's typical examples that I can from the top of my head where the government subsidized houses are actually on the left-hand side of the road, and RDP houses are actually on the right-hand side here in Sky City in Ekurhuleni. You can actually, you are able to compare some things head to head. I mean, government subsidized houses, they do have special specific locations. They do have specific location, and so do RDP houses, and so do privately developed houses, for instance. But yeah, it would be very interesting.
I think you can continue.
Factors.
Sorry for interrupting. We need to continue. Maybe you can continue offline. Directly.
I'd be happy
chatting
to.
Directly together.
Sure.
So let's just comment for you to make this maybe even more affordable. It's quality. You should maybe give more details. You will need to know exactly what they have in mind when they speak about quality. Now we will continue. We will have the ability to share other projects, of course, in the sharing time after the workshop. So now we will ask Jason to introduce the non-customers and to give definition and details about first part of the 6 paths. Jason, if you are here, share my screen, and unshare my screen.
Okay, so we will.
We see your screen now.
Okay, good. So this is a image of a guy named Liu Biao. He's a Chinese artist. I don't know if you can see him or not. He's always kind of hidden in plain sight. He actually paints himself as the products behind him. And this is what we're looking for. We're looking for what's hidden in plain sight. Now, we're always trapped by assumptions. We are very, very good, and if you could mute, if possible, we're very, very trapped into our assumptions of what we do, how we do it, who we do it for. And it creates a kind of a connected trap. So as a producer, we define ourselves what industry we're in, what strategic group we're in, what buyer group we're in, what moment of use we're in, what function of motion we're in, what time we're in. The consumer does the same thing. And we become trapped in these assumptions. But the non-customer doesn't have the same assumptions as we do. So when we're stuck with somebody, when we're stuck with an idea, if we look at the non-customer, they completely redefine each of these basic assumptions. They completely redefine these basic assumptions. And as we saw with the we case the other day, is that we start having an idea of what patterns of alternative uses our non-customers turn to in order to create these new assumptions. So who are our non-customers? I mean, our non-customers are always right in front of our eyes. Our non-customers are those who don't really care about us, essentially. So we always ignore them. As we talked about, there's 3 tiers. We've got the soon-to-be. So the first tier is, I've got my favorite restaurant and I go to it every day. But the management changes and it's not as good, not as fast, not as polite. So I'm ready to, maybe something better comes along, I'll go to it. The second tier is that I'm actively refusing you. Here in my restaurant, I get food poisoning. I'm not going back to the restaurant. I know them, they know me, but I'm not going back. Third tier, I don't even go to restaurants anymore. I'm married with kids. I go to the movies when I have free time and extra money. I don't go to a restaurant. So I'm not thinking about the restaurant's not thinking about me. And here is where the biggest depth of insight comes from, is right here. So the 6 paths is made to help us move away from our current assumptions. It's the software of Blue Ocean strategy. It is the, for some, the most difficult, for others, the most exciting part of it. And so each path breaks apart. Actually, Aristotle was the first person to say, who, what, where, when, why. And it breaks this apart so we can start looking at what we do differently. So instead of focusing on the competition, focusing on who we're competing against. We focus on the alternatives. And I'll ask you later about the subtle difference between these two slides. There's alternatives to everything. And we often feel that the challenges in front of us, nobody can solve them. They're just too complicated. But these challenges have been solved somewhere else, just in a different way. So a company I've worked with a lot the last 20 years, they asked a very simple question. How can we make wine for people who don't drink wine? So we don't ask the wine drinker. We ask the beer drinker. What do you turn to instead of wine? And why do you do it? And so, yeah, there's different industries you can turn to if you're an alcohol drinker. The most important one is why. And I found that turn to beer because it's price, consistency, simple choice, and familiar taste. The key one here is consistency. And if you ask a wine drinker, what do you like about wine? It's not consistency. It's not having the same thing each time you open a bottle of wine. And this is what Yellowtail brought back to wine, consistency. So it's a simple set of questions, and people try to overcomplicate the 6 paths, but it's a simple set of questions. So for the first one, it's what's the alternative industry to yours? And why do buyers trade across? Path 2. Why do buyers, so what we're looking here is the typical segmentation in markets. That's what traditional strategy teaches us, is to segment. And here is working with a company in Kenya. They were trying to understand the lower end of the market and how they could make them trade up to their product, which was a beer. And so the question was, why do they trade down for the lower group? This is Changa. Swahili, it's kill me quick. Why do they trade down for it? Well, it's consistent-ish, it's cheap, and it does the job. And why do they trade up for what was on the market at the time? It was a brand called Tusker. And it was because it was consistent, it was good, and it was acceptable more than anything. So it created a beer called Senator, which was at the price a little bit above Changa, but lower than Tusker. And it hit the market so that you could trade up to it with a few more pennies, but you're safe with it. So that's what we're trying to do, is collapse the 2 different markets of trading up and trading down. We're desegmenting. The third tier is changing how we define our buyer's market. So usually we focus on the purchaser, the person that gives us money for our product. But then we can also look at the user, the one who uses it. So in our example here, the purchaser might be the parent who's buying medication for, or vitamins, let's say, for the user, the kid. The influencer might be the doctor. And if we just move around between the purchaser, the user, and the influencer, we can find new insights, because there's not just one person buying. So let's focus on that. So tier 3 is we're not focusing on just the purchaser. We're focusing on the different buyer group. In this case, it's, you know, someone who has a dog, and, you know, this cafe caters to dogs. So I would prefer to go to this cafe compared to the other cafe, because this one, you know, gives me a place and food and water for my dog. So we ask, what is the chain of buyers in your industry? Do you focus on the purchaser, the user, or the influencer? And then what if we shifted that buyer group? So in this case, this is one that George and I worked on in a hotel chain. We started with one, and this is one important point, is that we started with one. We have to earn to grow. And we started with one hotel, and we were looking at it, and we realized that the hotel attracted people for their workshops, and their workshops would happen Monday to Friday. So occupancy at the hotel would be 100% Monday to Friday. But on Saturday and Sunday, it dropped to less than 20%. So we realized that the industry is focused on people coming to a conference, staying there for the conference. So they were the user, not necessarily the purchaser, because their company paid for it. They were the users. The company was completely focused on the workshop user. So we asked a simple question. What if we shifted to the influencer? And the influencer here is the spouse, the family. What are they doing that week? Instead of going back home as a user, what if we made it so attractive to stay at the hotel over the weekend and bring your family with? What would happen there? And it's just a simple shift over the weekend from a business hotel to a family hotel, where you can offer classes for your kids, nannies for your kids if you and the spouse want to go out. And this created from one hotel in Florence, Italy, and then spread to each and every other one, where there's actually focus on the influence, and influencers are kids and the spouse. So now it's standard practice in five-star hotels to have this service. But it started this one idea of shifting from the user to the influencer. So ask yourself at each stage, who is your industry focused on? And what if you shifted to another buyer group? Now, the next one should be quite familiar, because you're starting to look at what are the pain points that your user or your customer are going through. And here, instead of maximizing that moment of use, look around the entire ecosystem of your user's interaction. And so, well, here, this is actually, if you know America, the sign, it's a marijuana depositories. So it's legal in many states now. And this enterprising girl, she was selling Girl Scout cookies. You know, it's a youth group, and then they sell these cookies. And she was looking for the complimentary services, because, you know, if you smoke marijuana, you get the munchies and you want cookies. So she set up and in front of the store, and she sold out all of her cookies within 6 hours. Very smart kid. Here with Yellowtail, again, they were looking at how can we get on the shelves of supermarkets? Well, there's no room on the shelves, so let's make our own. Just make the boxes so that you can just perforate it, put them on the floor, they stand out, and it creates more shelf space for the market. So you're looking at, you know, so we're not just focusing on the purchaser, the person who purchases wine, we're focusing on the influencer, which is the store who offers the wine. 5 is looking across, are we functional or are we emotional? And think about that with your offering. Are we functional or are we emotional? Oftentimes, we are one or the other. Now, what if we flip that? So what if we flip the script? What if we become emotional or functional? So here, I went to university in Japan, and I hated going to the barber to get my hair cut because it was a long process. They would massage you, they would shave you, hot towels, incredibly emotional experience. And I hated it, and I think every man I knew hated it because it was just too much. But what if we shifted to QB House? QB House is a chain. It's the most popular barber in Japan, Korea, Singapore, and expanding. You go into QB House and you've got a choice. Number 1, number 2, number 3. It costs, instead of, so as you see here, it's about 1,000 yen. A traditional haircut would be 6,000 yen. So $60 US to basically $10. And you go in, you sit down, and they have a Flowbee. It's basically a vacuum with cutters on it. You're in and out in 5 minutes. That's what a person wants. So they flip the script from being very emotional to very functional. So here you have to ask the question, are we functional or are we emotional? If we're emotional, what if we flipped it and just completely functional? Again, it's a thought process. It's not you're going to do it completely, but really challenge yourself. What if we're going to just be completely functional? Or if we're functional, what if we can be completely emotional? This example is a mixer in the background, KitchenAid. This is where Steve Jobs got the idea for the original iMac. Saw that, they made this mixer, something that's very functional and emotional by just giving it color. So what if we really, again, here it's a thought experiment to challenge yourself. Now the last one is time. Now here there's an idea of that we just accept that time happens. And we're supposed to adapt to outside trends. Now, the question we're looking at here is, what if we don't just adapt to outside trends, but we shape them? Here, this is a company I was working with in Australia. They were a mining company. They specifically focused on how to make things work all the time, because that's what mining is, making big machines work all the time. So it means monitoring the oil, and it's monitoring every aspect of the machinery. So that's not going to last forever. Mining is going to stop. So we ask, well, how do we shape the future? How do we take what we know, our core competencies, and apply them to what the future is? And so this company, I did is we started looking at applying our core competencies to wind power. And so now they're the largest wind power maintenance and repair company in the world, because it shifted from accepting the trend that mining will stop and creating a new trend where the new energy sources will be in wind power. And so that's the 6 paths. It is better practiced than taught. So take your ideas and put them through the 6 paths in order to really challenge them. Again, we're taking the perspective of a non-customer and pushing them through the 6 paths to really see what are the alternatives we face. And with that, the floor is back to you, Alban.
Yeah, sure. So it's a lot of content in one time. We will come back, of course, next session to all this concept. But you see, it's very practical. Jason share with you very practical examples. Do you have question? I see Lana, you raise your hand.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking, Jason, maybe you can help me here. Suppose I'm a musician and I am making music. I could have music, my music could have a function, because if you're a DJ, all you want to do is to be able to have access to the music and do your job. But you're not the only customer that I'm focusing on. I'm also focusing on my listeners. And they might have an emotional connection. So does it always have to be either or can it be both?
It often is both, to be honest. And I work a lot with L'Oreal, for example. And when I started with them 15 years ago, they are all about emotion. And learning from, and eventually buying Body Shop, they started learning about function as well. And so they melded the two, not to great success, to be honest, but they brought in this idea of that we can have products that serve a functional, reinvigorating or maintenance products, and at the same time being emotional. And it's not an either or, but as I said, it's challenging you. I do a lot of B2B work as well. And people say, oh, we're B2B, we're very just functional. And I said, no, you're an incredibly emotional experience, but you just don't realize it. So it's challenging you to really think, what are you? This is what each and every path does. It's challenging to reconsider your assumptions. And so that's the point. So yeah, I get it. And I know musicians who play for other musicians and it's completely functional. And I know musicians who play to the audience and it's completely emotional. And you can be both at the same time.
Jason, just on that one, I just want to find out if by going or saying or looking at the emotional route, if I can put it that way, doesn't that confine you to more of a niche market than what the blue ocean is actually looking to implement?
Yeah, so this is a challenge of the 6 paths. It is creating more ingredients for you to work with. It is not creating a solution. The source of genius is not ahas. It's, isn't that interesting? That's what we're looking for in the 6 paths. We're not looking for a moonshot here. We're looking for, I didn't think about that. So don't use the 6 paths as a silver bullet. Use the 6 paths as, God, I'm dumb. I never thought of that before. That's what the 6 paths is all about.
Do we have other question? Anahan? Yeah.
Sorry, Jason, could you just explain a little bit more about the strategic group again?
Yeah, so strategic group, it's kind of one of the more, so as you'll see, the paths are looking either outside in or inside out. So the strategic groups is traditionally we have a high-end automobile, for example, a Mercedes, or you've got a low-end ute, kind of a Corolla, Toyota Corolla. I don't drive, so I'm very bad at this example. But so we have a strategic group. Traditionally, it's this like high-end, high price, low-end, low price. So those are the two strategic groups. And what we're looking for in this second path is, well, why do people trade up? You know, why do I spend a monthly fee to go to a fitness center? Is it because, you know, I like the atmosphere? Is it, do I like the machines? Well, it's basically I trade up because there's motivation. There's someone yelling at me to do something, and I like the machines. Or I can trade down and stay at home, put on a YouTube video of how to exercise, and I like that because, well, I can do what I want when I want. I can wear what I want. I don't have to move anywhere. So it's asking the question, why do I trade up for one offering, the fitness center? Why do I trade down for working out at home? And it's amazing once you start looking at the world and how much competitive strategy has shaped our choices. We can trade up or trade down. And we never ask, well, why do we do that? Why can't we do both at the same time? And it's not just about price. It's about what the offering is.
So, Jason, is it possible that, I mean, I'm seeing this trading up and trading down, particularly in the COVID situation, being quite fluid, that it could be very temporary. So, for example, when we were in lockdown level 4, gyms were closed.
Mm-hmm.
So people all of a sudden started exercising from home and put their gym contracts on hold. So they traded down. But then as soon as the lockdown level lowered, then they reactivated their gym contracts and they're back to the gym again. But as soon as that scenario changes and we go back to a 4 or 5, they might put their gym memberships on hold again. So I'm just seeing that this trading up and down could be literally like the stock exchange. You know, you could be buying more today and selling it tomorrow kind of thing. Am I seeing this right? Or is this more of a long-term strategy that they trade up for longer periods?
Exactly. So, for example, like with Yellowtail, for example, as far as trying to attract beer drinkers, watch how people would buy beer, and a beer drinker would kind of risk it to trade up by getting a foreign beer, for example. And the foreign beer, instead of being a 6-pack being $3.99 in the US, they would trade up to a $6.99 for a beer. Now, why would they trade up? Well, it's something adventurous, it's something interesting, it's a special occasion. What would allow them to do that is the consistency. You know it's going to be beer. You know it's going to be slightly different. And so it doesn't mean that it is always a long-term issue of trading up or trading down. But just ask, with each path, what we're doing is we're just kind of beating ourselves up. We're challenging our assumptions. It's a form of meditation to just say, well, why? You know, we especially in government and in business, we never stop. We're paid to know and paid to do, so we do and we know. But here, the 6 paths is to me, it's a meditation process. Is to ask those questions. There's no solutions here. You shouldn't have any ahas. You should say, that's interesting. And that's a key point of what we're doing with the 6 paths. I hope that helps. I don't want to be, there's nothing about pollution strategy that's navel gazing, but here it is kind of just, you know, hitting ourselves in the face in a way of what do we do and why we do it and who we do it for.
Do we have some last questions for Jason about the 6 paths or the non-customers also? Feel free to open your mic and ask your questions, of course.
I think we're good. So we can...
Yeah. So but now we propose to have a pause. So it's now close to 11 South African time. So we can come back at 11:20 or something. Yeah, I would like to share with you an example. So just a quick overview about all the 6 paths Jason has shared with you. So it's very important to understand that this 6 paths, it's a very powerful tool for to find exit ways to go out of your industry. Okay, it's all, you remember the strategy canvas. It's and all these customer, non-customers. It's all with the industry point of view. It's not your current offering. We take an overview where it's higher. It's the industry. It's macroeconomic process. So when we have the industry point of view, we find ways to go out to find new values, to bring new values to your industry. So this is a way to create this new market. So first one, as Jason shared with you, it's time trends. It's all this 10 years, 20 years ahead, new techniques, new offerings, new behavior, new uses, and new evolution of the society. You will see. So what is coming? What is it coming? And how we can use these trends to bring a new value. Alternative industry, Jason shared with you the yellowtail example. There are also in the water, this Brita, it's a very old blue ocean, German one. It was created in 1970. It's just a filter. You plug a filter on the carafe or on your plums to get drinkable, good quality water at home. So you see here the alternative industry. It's inspired by this water bottle industry and this water distribution industry. They are both alternative industry. They are totally different industry, but they propose value very close to the customers. So alternative industry, they are different industry, but very close in terms of values. So for instance, your non-customers, unexplored non-customers, most of the time from your industry, your non-customer unexplored, they will be customer of this alternative industry. And this strategic group, it's just you have to group. You group your competitors, and you already did it, with different transportation, kind of transportation. With a taxi, you can group with personal cars, or you can group with car rental. It's one strategy group. And another strategy group would be certainly public transportation, where you can group train and bus. So it's group of competitors, of offerings based on their strategy. You group them. And decision chain, it's now you will have a focus on what are the needs, what are the key values, the key elements from the influencers, decision makers, prescribers. So not only the customers, not only the person who pay, but also people, or also it can be newspaper, magazine, who have influence on this customer in the final decision. And complementary products and services, this path is about, okay, I look what I'm using with this standard offering, like with my mobile phone. Okay, with a mobile phone, I'm using this protection, this software, this mobile app. They are complementary services, complementary products. And emotional and functional appeal, yeah, as Jason have shared with you, it's all about, okay, what happens if I take this fully emotional or this fully functional focus point of view. We had a question from Lanan about what is emotional, what is functional. Basically, emotional, it will be all about risk, image, fun, ethics. Okay, it's what all these emotions you can have when you use this or this offering. And functional, it will be all these utility levers related to the functionality, like earning more money, earning time, or convenience, simplicity. Okay, so don't worry, we'll come back in the next sessions again on this 6 paths, and you will use them in the workshop today. You will try to start with this 6 paths description. We call it 6 paths description, because in the brochure strategy process, before having the ability to use the value of this 6 paths, you need to describe them first, to be clear about what are these 6 paths, each of these 6 paths for my industry. You remember here's this brochure matrix, the key deliverable from the process here, where we have the criteria, the blue score criteria for the brochure award jury. Here, I would like to share with you an example. We have, it's very famous company, it's an Indian company. It was the first winner of the brochure awards in an international competition. It's an Indian company in transportation. I will show you the video, short video about this offering. Okay, let me know if you don't hear the sound.
We are Sun Mobility, the world's leader in technology-agnostic swappable batteries for electric vehicles. By addressing the key challenges associated with them, we are rethinking energy for EVs with our open architecture infrastructure. Fossil fuel-run vehicles are choking up many of the world's teeming cities with smog and smoke, prompting governments all around the world to mandate the replacement of these polluting vehicles with electric ones. And the automotive industry is following suit. However, mass adoption remains elusive. As customers struggle with high costs, limited range, and long recharging time, Sun Mobility's innovative approach solves these challenges by separating batteries from vehicles and offers energy as a service. Customers pay as they go, only for the energy used for a hassle-free experience. They use our app to easily find the nearest swap point, monitor battery state of charge, and manage their payments. For larger vehicles like buses and trucks, we have designed a state-of-the-art automatic swapping station with a robotic arm to perform the swap within minutes. Whether the swap is manual or automatic, the benefits are clear: zero downtime, lower costs, and lighter vehicles. So far, our platform has powered over 1.5 million miles and 150,000 trips in India via e-bikes, e-autos, e-rickshaws, e-loaders, and e-buses. We will soon go global in our market, as we see tremendous potential for swappable battery technology worldwide, especially in the commercial vehicle segments. Founded by visionary leaders passionate about accelerating e-mobility, we are a 270-person strong team with over 150 people in technology. In a few short years, we have built partnerships with world-class players across the mobility ecosystem like Bosch, Uber, Microsoft, Piaggio, Indian Oil, Ashok Leyland, among many others. Indian Oil has the largest retail footprint in India, with over 30,000 outlets, making our swapping technology as easily accessible as conventional refueling. Our technology is designed from the ground up for superior safety and diverse operating conditions, and offers huge benefits to our users. It saves them time, increases cargo and passenger space, eliminates range anxiety, gives them energy as a service they can measure and see in real time on their phone, gives Sun Mobility robust top line and margins, and has a completely customer-centric approach. Why should you be interested? Sun Mobility has a deep competitive moat, incredibly strong international patent and intellectual property protection, extremely limited competition, and our platform can adapt to any improvement in battery technology. Sun Mobility is rethinking energy for EVs to transform urban mobility with its open architecture infrastructure. It is a truly unique solution made in India for the world.
So, we maybe can share some question here, and you can feel free to answer the question. It has to be interactive. First question we could ask you: it's which industry, on which industry Sun Mobility is creating this new market space, this blue ocean strategy? What is industry?
The energy.
Open the mic, M4.
That'll be energy.
No. Feel free to interact. What is industry?
That's the energy industry. Can you hear me, Albert?
It is creating this innovation on.
Hi, Alban, can you hear me?
Empo? Yeah.
Yes, it's the energy industry.
So no idea. Okay. So it's, as I said, it's the energy infrastructure for electrical vehicles. Mm-hmm. See in the chat, mobility. Yeah, it's more than mobility. They provide, they install energy infrastructure. You know, like their competitors in standard offerings are Unity. You know, this charger, electric vehicle chargers. You see now more and more in Europe and the US and India also. So, what do they have eliminated and created compared to the standard electric charger you see in the cities? What do they eliminate and create? Open the mic if you can.
I think it's because if I understood the pitch correctly, what they're offering.
You are muted. You're muted.
I'm muted.
We don't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I think the problem is on your side.
He's having issues
maybe I can understand. Sorry, maybe it's my side. Oh, wait a second. Maybe it's because of me. Okay. Yes, the issue is on my side. Sorry. Very sorry. Okay, I need to disconnect and reconnect. Nice. Okay, now it's working. I can hear you. Sorry for this. Okay, yeah, Itumelang and M4, you were, what did you say?
I was saying that I think I sent a message in the group text. I was saying I think you understood correctly. What they're offering is just these rechargeable batteries. So they're just saving the user the time it takes for them to recharge the battery. I think that sets them apart. That as a customer, you don't have to spend 12 hours charging your battery, but you just go to these places and then they come and change it for you. So in a sense, they're saving the customer time and it's more convenient for the customer.
Yeah, exactly. And what do they eliminate? So, your opinion? So you can see, yeah.
Is it the time? Because in any instance, these EVs, they will still have to go to a service station to charge, like these Tesla supercharging stations. So because they do have the similar stations, so the infrastructure is still the same. I think what they're eliminating is just the time it takes to charge the battery, but the charging stations still exist. So I don't think they've sort of eliminated that as the main problem, because the
swap. You don't. It's still you are thinking with an engineer point of view. When you think about the user point of view, they swap the battery. So for the customer, they don't need to charge the battery. Just a swap with a full battery, and it's very key. They eliminate this refueling time for the customer. It's all about the customer always. The value is not about how we do it. It's engineer problems, but it's what is the experience of the customer. And yes, clearly they eliminate the refueling time. It's very key. M4, you wanted to share? M4, yeah, sure.
No, I also wanted to bring up cost, but I see it's actually there on the.
Yeah, clearly, they eliminate all these things about refueling, about range, so range anxiety. And they create this unlimited driving range, because if you have this station and you can swap your battery always with a full battery, you have no limit anymore with your electric vehicles. It's clearly for a fleet. They are clearly in the energy infrastructure for fleet of electrical vehicles. So their clients, their customers, they are these fleet managers, mostly, as they said in the video, and they reduce the revenue, the loss of revenue due to long refueling time, of course, because when you have immobilization of the car, of the bus, it's very bad for revenues, for profitability. And yeah, Nakomo Geleng, they also increase the battery life cycle. It's not about battery life cycle. It's like you don't need to care about the battery anymore. You just swap, you have a new battery. It's full. And in fact, their solution, it's very interesting for the investment, for the profitability of the client, also of the customer, because they don't, the customer does not need to invest in the battery anymore. It does not own the battery. So the total cost of ownership, it's reduced very, very, very strongly, because the batteries remain the property of Sun Mobility. So when you are the fleet manager, you just need to buy the vehicle and with the motor, but without the battery. And battery, it represents sometimes 20% of the total cost of the vehicle. And the consequence is, in terms of investment, for the client, for the customer, they create this cost parity between electric vehicle and thermic classical vehicle, because of this separating the batteries from vehicle and offering this battery just as a service. So the customers, the fleet manager, he will pay only for the energy, for the electricity put in the battery, like you refuel the battery, but not for the battery itself. This is it's very clever and very simple ideas, and also they raised uptime. They create also this unlimited driving range, as I said. If you look here on the non-customer, they reach with these offerings, they were inspired by these 2 billion customers. There are all these professional companies with fleet of vehicles going electric, turning electric. So there, there's all this against going electric, all these companies, or fleet management companies, they have reservation about this range barrier, this charging time, this investment things in the batteries. So here they clearly answer to their point. They clearly solve their pain points of this EXCLUDED. It's all this range of cities still using conventional thermic fleets. It's a big potential. Most of the cities in the world are still using classical bus or taxis, and they are a big potential, because now you can make them turning electric. And you see the potential. This company, after they won the Blue Ocean Awards this year, in the 11th of May, and they have raised some months ago $50 million, a month after they won. And they are, as I said on the video, they have a lot of partnership with Bosch, with a lot of big corporates, and they are growing very fast. You see their market potential valuation, current market size worldwide for this energy infrastructure for electric vehicles, and what they create. You see, it's they create more than two times the current value of this market, because they have been able to bring only the right value for these non-customers. Do you have questions, reactions about this? Judy? Yeah.
Hi, Alba. Yes,
Yes.
no, I don't have a question. It's just a comment. What this company managed to do is what fuel companies basically did in the past. Because with a conventional car, you don't own the petrol or the fuel that you're using. You just go to a filling station. And what they're basically doing with the battery is when you go for your battery swap, it's like a filling station, but without the time that you actually have to spend there with the conventional car.
And you see here, you make a very clear connection with the SIXPASS, which of the SIXPASS they could have been inspired to have this idea. Certainly, they were inspired by an alternative industry, which is the energy infrastructure for thermic vehicles, the classical oil station we have on the road. Because they did all the same, as you don't need to you just pay for the refueling, you just pay for the energy you put in the vehicle. So certainly they were mostly inspired by this alternative industry, you see. Okay, so now we will brief you for the workshop. So it's, we'll share my screen. on my screen. Yeah, no. So it's non-customers and 6PASS, starting the 6PASS, and not customer profiling. So as you know, on the platform, this is here, this part here. So if we take, no, you know about this Sun Mobility example, you can see. So here you go on this part, the third part, identification of the non-customers. You see, you have this big map here with the three tiers of non-customers, and you can click anywhere. You see on the right color. So first color, the pink, it's the soon to be. The violet here is the empty, and the blue here they are the unexplored. If you want to add, you just click. You see, you just click where you want to add, and you choose the color for the font. And here you see example. You save, and it will be here. They are copied and reported here on this table. You see, it's here with the name of the contributor. You can delete if you change your mind about the list and you want to adapt. Here, it's the objective is to have this collaborative. So all the team can contribute and add any non-customers you want to add. And then with this room zone we will create now, you can discuss why you add this, why you want to complete or precise this profile of non-customers. It's interactive and collaborative. And then you have here the 6PASS. It's number 6 here. You can start the 6PASS description. You will see here the question, the same question as Jason has introduced to you for each of the 6PASS. You know, you have here the name of the pass, time trends. You can click here on next to change the pass, strategy group, decision chain, complementary, emotional. And when you want to add, here you click on add row. Okay, this part here, add row, and you are able to have this to answer this question. So each member of your group can contribute and bring his own proposition for alternative industries, list of decision chain, complementary product and services. And you just, you add your answer here and it will be added here. Okay. And you can edit it or delete it. Is it all clear for this? This is the workshop you will have now on the non-customers. Start with the non-customers. And if some of you are not yet ready with this strategic Canva, you can also work on it and then go on this identification of the non-customers. Do you